We go from England to Macon and find out what's going on in Mercer. Catch up with Tony Economopolous, the head women's major domo at Mercer. Good to see you, my friend. Welcome to 2026.
Thank you, John. How you doing?
Trying to be as fast as you when it comes to getting ready for the season. I'm just trying to keep up with you, my man.
I appreciate that. It comes like a bullet out of a gun. It goes.
When you look back at 25, coming into 26, what were some of the lessons from last season that you brought with you to prep you for the 26 year?
Biggest thing from last year was the resiliency of this group. We started off with a roster of 24, and going to our first real game against Oklahoma State, we only had 14, and the team dug in really deep and just bought into the game plans, bought into each other, had each other's backs, and they're resilient, and they fought through a lot of obstacles they had to deal with over the 3 months. So I think that mindset has set in for the returners that, hey, we were that close. We can do it with the reinforcements we brought in this year. So I think their work ethic, their grit, and their mindset of, hey, we can overcome a lot of adversity if we did it last year with a half empty glass.
How much of a challenge is that for you and a coaching staff where you got to have a starting 11? You've only got 3 when you look off to your right shoulder. I imagine you're looking off to your right shoulder and you see the bench and there's 3 there. How much of a challenge is it for you and a staff to navigate the matches themselves, get ready for those, find out, okay, when it comes to, all right, I can practice them this hard, I've got to dial it back, this isn't what I'm normally doing. How much of a challenge was that for you and the staff last year out of the blocks?
It was extremely hard. We had one keeper at the time as well, so we had a bubble wrap her. Our GA got in goal for a lot of finishing activities and functional trainings. It was difficult because we had all these grandiose plans of 11v11, 9v9. We had to go down to 7v7, almost club stylish, and just limit things. Our sessions were about 70 minutes only. We just couldn't risk losing anybody else. But we made it intense in those 70 minutes. I mean, we'll try to do it as in certain functions of the game that were realistic. So we take a small microcosm of the game, dumb it down a little bit to minimize it, and show it to them. And the group did a good job. The most difficult part was the matches that were competitive, that you look over your shoulder, like you said, we had 1 or 2 subs, but you had to manage it because you still had 40 minutes on the clock. And in the college game, the first half, maybe you can't re-enter or they've already come off one time in the second half. That was a difficult part. We told some kids, hey, you just got to find out 5 more minutes until half. You got to figure it out and get it done. And the willpower was great to see. But it was difficult. But this year, bringing a larger team, it's a breath of fresh air. So last year was difficult. It was rewarding as a coach and my staff, what we did to game plan and to manage the sessions to where typically like flying change is a big thing we do every week to teach transition and gritty moments and hard tackles and just bring up the level of practice. That last year we did it one time all season, John, because we just couldn't afford any kind of freak accident in the tackle. Whereas this year we've done it 3 or 4 times because we have a much larger roster and it keeps the competitiveness up at a higher level.
And one of the other things was with the bench being as short as it was, you came out of the blocks really strong after the learning experiences in Stillwater and at UAT, as the boss calls it here at the house. She calls it UAT. She is an Auburn alumna, and she can't mention those words in a grouping, so she always refers to them by other names. So you have learning experiences in Stillwater. You have a learning experience in Tuscaloosa. Then you get on a good run of form. And then the team in mid-September kind of bonked a little bit. And I imagine it was just because of, you're hitting that point of the season and it's like having to push through it. And you eventually do that in conference play and you have a good run of form into the conference toward the tail end of your schedule. What was it like to see them navigate that moment where it's like, yeah, there's a wall here and they push through it and you get the results that you did in that final third of the season?
We expected a lull at some point.
Okay.
We weren't sure when, like any season. When you play 20 matches, there's going to be a dip at some point. And when it happened, as a coach, you're trying to get out of it as fast as you can. We were just limited with reinforcements, how to change it up. So it was a lot of video, a lot of mental trajectory, a lot of visualization. We worked with the starting group of, hey, listen, we're riding with you all until the end of the season. We got to find a way to get you to get out of this lull, this negative aspect of where we're at in the season right now, and get out of it. And our team, after they figured it out and realized, hey, listen, I can't rely on Susie or Vanessa because they're not here. I just got to do it from within. And once they all got in and bought in on that concept, we started trending the right way again. We still didn't finish as high as I wanted to in conference, and we had a couple of games we just threw away with some points. Like any team, any season, any sport, you look back in your season and say, "Oh, this one game we should have drew, or we should have won," that you dominated. But how we ended and going to the conference tournaments, we saw the change in their eyes. You could look in their eyes and say, "Okay, this group is bought in." There's just a little bit of anger and determination, which we could work with instead of like scared and like, I don't want to make a mistake.
Mm-hmm. This season, I imagine, when are you leaving for Jackson, Mississippi?
We're leaving 30 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. So I can't hold you long. So
you can. The bus away, John. We're good.
Okay. So I'll carry you for about another 15 to 17 years just to get you right out before the top of the hour. I don't want you to get in any trouble. And if you need a note, let me know.
I will.
When it comes to starting 3 games, you start your season 3 matches on the road. And it's Jackson State, it's West Georgia in Carrollton, and then you go to Orono, Maine. Yeah. How does something like that happen? It's because you sit there and you're going Mercer and Maine. That's not something that you would sit there and pair up. How does a non-conference schedule come together for you?
Yeah, so the main part first is we have a big list of all Division I women's coaches, and everyone goes on there, "I'm looking for a match on this year, this date, home or away. I have a guarantee, whatever." So I had an open date. Maine had an opening. We had a game originally. I got dropped last January. So I go on the listserv. I put in there, I'm looking for a team. Probably not a P4. We just came off playing a couple of years of P4s. I don't mind playing one. We're hosting Georgia. So I was like, okay, one is good for the year, a top 15 team. So let's get somebody else. And when the coach from Maine reached out saying, "Listen, hey, we can help you out with some kind of guarantee to help offset the cost of flights," I said, "Okay, let me think about it." And then he says, "Listen, and I'll return to you next year." So I'm like, okay, without a guarantee. So I'm like, so you're going to help me come play you in nice 70-degree weather. It's 110 down here. And then you're going to return to me in Macon early August for opening game. Let's do this, because for us, we have a better situation going to the cold than them coming to the heat. So it's going to be great for us to go there. It'll be difficult with the turf. We don't play on turf typically. So that'll be an interesting challenge for our team. We'll train on the football field a couple times. But then the Jackson State game, like West Georgia, we try to play West Georgia every year. It just depends how the schedule falls. And this year, losing that first game of the season through kind of a wrench. So we'll have 3 games on the road to start off. And our one exhibition was also on the road at College of Charleston last week. So the best thing about that is we have a young group that they're going to be well trained on the road, how the process works, the bus, the hotels, all the small details. And you're not sleeping in your own bed. So when we do come home for a stretch of 3 massive games, hopefully they're excited to be home at Bet Stadium.
So how was Cruton for you coming into this year? You mentioned the youth that's there. There's the roster has its share of Southeastern U.S. players, and you and I both know what the Southeastern high school footprint is, because you notice, you look at your roster. Okay, there's some Bartram Trail here. There's some Georgia here. What's it like recruiting these days, and how has it changed, say, even over the last handful of years for you?
The biggest thing's been the portal, I'm sure every coach says. And we have a couple portal kids, but we don't live and die by the portal. If we happen to find a kid that can help our program immediately, we'll try to add that individual, but we're not big on that. I think the academic success and athletic success Mercer has had in the last 10 years has helped our brand to go out, and we go to Texas or California or Arizona or New York. Kids now have heard of Mercer, and they're excited to come, especially kids from like the Northeast. We have I think 4 or 5 New Yorkers that we're talking to more because they love to come to the South. They're tired of the dreary cold and snow. So I think our success, I think our team culture and team chemistry has helped us. Parents talking well about Mercer when we go play other teams, how we carry ourselves, I think has helped us. But in general, Mercer's a very good product. The academic piece is tremendous. The athletic resources we have in place are tremendous. And being so close to the beach in the South and the climate, I think it helps a lot of kids say, hey, let's try it. And we play a good schedule, John. I mean, like I said, this year we're playing Georgia at home, who right now is 19th in the country. In 3 weeks' time could be top 10. So we always try to play a pretty tough schedule to make it exciting to kids to come in because they want to be at that level ultimately. So I think it helps sell the program.
Tony Economopolous, before he hops on the bus to head to Jackson, Mississippi, literally. I mean, and I mean that literally. He's hanging out with us here this morning before he kicks off his 26th season. Internationally, though, because there's a sprinkle of international players, and I will count the Canadians as international players because you have to cross over a bridge and a border. How do you recruit internationally? How does that go these days?
Yeah, so some of the Canadians are kids who are close enough to the New York border that they'll drive the 2 hours into Buffalo area, Rochester, and play with a high-level ECNL club there. A couple we go to showcases in Canada because it's so close. We can do that. The Australian kid, we went through a handler. I know we lost a kid after she signed with us that we're trying to find a forward, and our handler had contacts in Australia. We saw Emily's video. We liked what we saw, and it worked out for us that way. The Greek kids, we went to Serbia 3 years ago to watch the Greek U19 national team play against Serbia. We were watching one kid in particular, and we saw a different kid. And
how it goes.
So we got the one kid, we chased her down, and she was actually Greek American, so she lives in New York. And then the other kid, we got her as well. So that's been great for us. And then Mariana got called up to the full national team back in the summertime in a game against Georgia, and hopefully she get called up again in October for the qualifiers. So just having contacts, having resources, having some success. Again, kind of like the transfer portal. We're not heavy at Mercer to get 10, 15 international kids. I think that can ruin the dynamic sometimes of a team. Now, it does work for the men's side more than the women's side, but the team chemistry is so important that I try not to have more than 2 or 3 kids from a certain country, just so they don't kind of have their own little, but own little team within a team.
Yeah, to have their own little clique. That's
correct.
So when the internationals come in, and I imagine it's a culture shock for them in some aspects because, I mean, look, first thing you've got to do is you got to take them over to fresh air and make sure that they have good barbecue and get them introduced to that. How do you introduce them to Middle Georgia and reduce that culture shock and make them feel at home?
Yeah, that's a big piece for internationals. Hey, how big is the city? What do you do? Because most of these kids, non-Canadians, but the Europeans and Australians, they're used to traveling themselves as teenagers in these big cities. And they're not in bubbles like we are here in the U.S. protecting our kids as much. They're just more well-versed in life. So I think the opportunity we give them, they know they want to extend their careers. They know they want to get a degree. They know the degree from a U.S. university will carry a lot of weight in their home countries. That's the first selling point. Then we tell them, if you want to play pro, this will prepare you because how we play in the U.S. is complete opposite how you play in Europe or Australia. It's all about physicality, speed of play, transition, not as much technical play per se as you do have the other countries. So when you go back home, not only going to be technically clean still, but you're going to be playing at a faster speed of play, faster rate, harder in tackles. And we tell them that's going to help get you better. Because when Mariana came in, great technically, but played so methodical, left to right. And we're like, we got to go. Can we get the ball in the final third in 3 passes or less? That when she went back this summer and played for the full side, she started and was at a different level because when she got it, she would drive and attack, and teams weren't ready for that. So we sell them on that. Then we sell them on the team culture concept of, we're an hour from Atlanta. So you want anything massive, you're an hour away from a big concert and airports, any shop, any store you want to go to in the world is right there. We also have the beach 2 hours away. So for some kids, depending where they're from, if you're a Belgium kid, you want to have opportunity to go to the beach. We're here. We're 2 hours, 2.5 hours from Savannah Beach, 3 hours from a Florida beach. So we try to sell that aspect. Or Disney World's 4.5 hours away, 5 hours. Nashville's 4.5 hours away. We sell the cities around Macon as well that excite them to do things. But then our team does a really good job of when kids do get here to show them the best of Macon. And I think Macon's a phenomenal downtown. I mean, for an international coming in, it's not as big as Athens, Greece, or London, England, but it's quaint, it's nice, it's clean. There's eateries, there's bars, anything you want. There's history here. So there's a lot of cool things we try to show them that make them excited. And when they need something more, hey, drive up 75 for an hour and you get whatever you want.
What'd you learn about yourself in the scrimmage against COC?
I was very delighted at the speed of play. When you played, because we started periodization for 2 weeks. Then we had a week of preseason. We played each other, and we looked good in our squad scrimmages. But how we came out that first period against them, and we just attacked at speed, was great to see. We had a lot of new kids who stepped up, new transfers and freshmen who impressed us. That originally going to that game, John, I thought, okay, we're going to Maine. we'll take a travel roster. We can't fly 29 players and staff, so we're going to take 20 field players or 20 players total. Leaving that game, I was like, well, crap, we have a hard decision to make now. I thought it was going to be easy. Okay, these 18, 20 players. Now it's like, man, we have some hard discussions over Jackson State game, West Georgia, before 7 a.m. on Monday morning and change those flights.
That's a good thing to have, yeah?
Extremely good. I told our staff, listen, this is a great problem because last year we couldn't get players. We brought more staff last year to OSU than we had bodies sometimes because we had so many open seats from injuries that kids couldn't travel. So this is a flip problem that we're like, maybe we cut some staff to bring more kids. But it's a breath of fresh air. I'm really happy with the team where we're at right now.
And it is going to be really cool for us to continue to see what's going on down there. When you look at conference this year in 26, what stands out, do you think?
Like always, Sanford is a top dog. I mean, Sanford Todd's done a great job there. He has the titles to show it and back him up. That team has a mindset. That program has a mindset that they built so much success that they're never fearful. They're down 3-0. They think they can win a match. And that's the biggest obstacle for all the other teams is when you're up 2-0 in Sanford, can you sustain that mindset and don't get in a shell and let them take over? They're the top dog. So until somebody knocks them off consistently, that's who we're all chasing. I feel good that if we stay healthy, John, like right now, knock on wood we are, and our one area, our goalkeepers, if they can do good and not cost us matches. Last year we dropped a couple games that our keepers were at fault for, and we're adults now, so we can say that. But I'm asking them to win us games. Just don't cost us a match. If they do that and we're healthy, I think we can finish top 2 or 3 and get that bye in the first round of the playoffs. So that's our whole goal this year, if we can sustain what we're at right now.
And I know that's probably the bus driver, right? Is that the bus
no.
driver?
Well, I was saying the only way to get their food. We're good. We got 10 more minutes. If you need
I know.
I
just wanted to catch up with you on conference and everything. And like I said, you obviously know that it's an open door policy and that we'll be knocking on your door. And if there's anything that you want to vent your spleen on a Friday, it's like that may not have anything to do with college. It's like, man, I saw this and I'm just mad. It's like the whole thing on network. I'm as mad as, you know what? I'm not going to take it anymore. Anything that you want to get off your chest. Think of it as almost like soccer therapy. So if there's any time that you ever just want to come in and knock on the door and go, dude, I've got to talk about something, you can. It is
awesome.
It is 1 day, 7 hours, and coming up on 10 minutes. Mercer season opener in Jackson, Mississippi against Jackson State. Then they go to West Georgia. Then they go to Orono, Maine. Then the home schedule starts. Tony, it's always great to see you, my friend. Just be safe, and we'll be keeping an eye on you. We'll be catching up with you soon, my friend.
John, I appreciate all you do for soccer. I appreciate everything you guys do. Have a great day, and go Bears.
There it goes. And the players are getting their food. Tony Economopolous, the women's head coach at Mercer, hanging out with us. Literally, he's supposed to be getting on a bus in 10 minutes to go to Jackson, Mississippi. They're starting their schedule. I can't thank Coach E enough. We're going to catch up with the men's side. That's going to be later Wednesday, and that's going to air on Thursday. So what we're going to be trying to do over the next little bit is catch up with as many college coaches here in the footprint as we can. And I did the math, and I think it's 38 schools, whether it's junior college or four-year institution, that have programs that we're going to be keeping an eye on in the state of Georgia. We're going to be keeping an eye on all of these programs. And we're going to try to grab as many of the coaches as we can during the season to get them to talk and find out what's going on. And we're also going to have a Red Clay Soccer Report where if we can't catch up with them in the morning show, we'll catch up with them, we'll tape stuff, and we'll have Red Clay coming back. And that's going to be on a weekly basis plus the morning show and everything. But it was great to catch up with Coach E before he literally hops on a bus and they go to Jackson, Mississippi, and have a match tomorrow afternoon, 4:00, and it should be on your favorite streaming device. Keep an eye out at Mercer Bears and see if Jackson State is going to have their own broadcast going forward. I know that a handful of us are going to be down in Mercer doing matches on the Plus, and I know that Jason is a part of this. I think Maddie at some point. And so Cast of Thousands rotating through. We'll be on the broadcasts for Mercer this season, and we're going to keep an eye on them.